First of all, I'm going to, use a pattern paper to get my basic bodice. Hole is 9, so I'm going to insert it here. Half of my shoulder measurement is 16, so we're going to put in 8 inches here. Then do not forget the 3 inches 8 inches rule for the shoulder slope. So this is the 3 inches and this is the 8 inches. So I'm gonna also put in the 8 inches here so I can get a straight line, just to be able to. So we're gonna take the shoulder slope measurement, which is 1 inches down. So this is it. To be able to get the yoke, because it's the yoke that will have the basket kind of opening. Okay, so for the yoke, I'll be taking at the CCM point because that is where I'll be cutting it off from. So I'll just have to note it here where I would cut off for the yoke. This is the chest line, and my bust will be using 44 divided by 4 is actually 11, so we'll be putting 11 inches at this point for the bust measurement. So this is 11 inches, but for the ease around the bust, I'll just be adding 1/4 inch. Okay, so this is the 1/4 inch, and do not forget allowance. So I'll be adding also 1 inch allowance. So this is 1 inch sewing allowance. Our armhole, all you need to do is find the midpoint. Like you already know, this is 8, the midpoint is 4 inches. So you go in by 3/4 here for the front, go in by 3/4. Okay, then you can also just finish it off from okay, this is for the front. Okay, so we have both our front and our back armhole done. We'll be doing 3.5 inches for the neck. This is 3.5 width for the neck width and for the neck depth. So we're doing 4 inches. Okay, so this is for the front neck. Okay, then for the back, we'll be using just coming down by 1 inch is fine. So have this is the front for the back neck. So what next? We're going to add the 1/2 inch shoulder allowance. Yeah. What we're actually making is going to be a flag. Okay, so I just need up onto my bust, then it's going to just flow all the way down. This is for the neckline. Okay, this is for the back neckline. This is the front neckline. This line is actually the 6 inches that I'll be using to cut off my yoke. I started to insert it here. Then this is my chest line, half of my armhole. Then you have the front and the back armhole, and you have the shoulder. You have the shoulder allowance. So this is what we have here. Okay, so this is the fabric we'll be using to make this dress. All right, so this is the pattern we cut off, right? So I'm going to attach it to the fabric. For the measurement I used, I had to measure out 88 inches on this horizontal part. Usually the fabric is 45 by 45. All right, so I measured 88 inches, then folded it in two. So from there to here is actually 44. Folded it in two, then before folding it diagonally like this, okay, just to get that flared through, you throw it like this. This is the full dress, like half of it. Then instead of folding it this way, you go this way. The pattern we did just to make it easier, instead of coming to use chalk on the fabric, so I just use this pattern paper. So I clipped it down here on the fabric. Go with 43 inches. So you can move it a bit to the center. Okay. And take it to the shoulder point, the 43 all round. This is the 43 inches point. So what you're going to do is to get your very long ruler. So from this armhole, just get a good long ruler to connect it to the edge of the material, like so. So I'm going to get a very long ruler. Using this long ruler, you join the line to the armhole point. So we just have to cut this out. So at this point, I'll just have to just cut off the back neck.
Okay, remember when I was tracing on the pattern paper, there was 6 inches point where I needed to make the yoke. So at this point, I've cut it off, then went ahead to trim off the front neck.
Front neckline is off. Front armhole for this pattern. This is the front armhole has been finished off. So this becomes the front, and this is the yoke we'll be working with. The yoke part, I have the upper part of my fabric. This is it here. So first of all, I already had my fabric, the half cut, and the yoke that I want to use and use for this basket. So I'm tracing it out on a pattern paper. Just place it like so. I use a clip to hold it down. So I remove the clip, traced it out. So we have our yoke already traced out on the pattern paper. Don't mind my baby. I can see her hand. Okay, let's move on. Then what next? I added half an inch to this particular pattern paper, like what we marked out on the pattern paper. Well, why did I do that? We cut this off from the main fabric, and if I don't add this half an inch, there's going to be a shortage, right? So this half an inch is what I'm going to use to sew it to the main fabric where it was cut off from. Then I extend the armhole part. Then again, the next thing is to cut this out. So using your scissors or your tracer, you can use it to easily cut off this. So after cutting this off from this pattern paper, so what you need to do next after you cut this from the pattern paper, then I used 1.5. I'm trying to mark out 1.5 inch. Okay, that is what I used across. You just use your tape from one end to another end. You measure 1.5 inch. Then after that, you can begin to join them, like just like I did. Use your ruler, use your pencil, use your marker, whatever it is you use, and start connecting them. you know, you each diagonal you're going to do it both ways. After this way, we're going to also turn to the other way, so we can get that basket opening. So like so, you just keep tracing them out, 1.5 inch. Then okay, so that is what I did round. Just kept trying to use my tape to make sure I have 1.5 inch all through this pattern paper. So by the time I'm done marking them, the next thing I did also was to rule them the way you just the diagonal lines I put the other way, just continue that way, to add the diagonal lines. Okay, so the 1.5 inch line. So when I finished putting them, the lines, I had to also put it the other way. Okay, so you just put your ruler this way and you start marking too, all the way to the edge. So this way you could see our basket pattern is almost forming. The squares are already coming out, because this is basically the guideline that you need to get your beautiful basket pattern that you want to make. So basically after this, what you just need to go ahead to do is to get your fabric, try to cut out 2 inches, I think. Yeah, 2 inches is fine. You can cut as much as you want, okay, depending on your squares and your lines. You can actually make yours bigger, you can make yours smaller, depending on how you want it. So this one is really closed, so because I don't want it to be so open. All right, so just get 2 inches, fold them at so, like so, and you just start placing them. The width of the fabric, the pieces we'll be using is 1/2 inch. So just fold it in such a way that, okay, you have 1/2 inch. You just start placing them on the lines like that. Then you can take it to your sewing machine, one after the other. Just sew each line according to the lines you have. Please make sure you sew one line first after going all the way this way, because before you can start putting it across like so. Okay, so sew them one after the other. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to run them. This is what I have, so I'm going to go start placing on the other line, and after that, okay, this is what I came up with. Next, I will have to start taking off the making up the holes. Okay, don't forget you can cut a pieces of the fabric here to use as a bias to run the neck. Okay, so this is the back, this is where the back looks. Before I can now start to remove the pattern papers. But meanwhile, while you're taking off the pattern paper, okay, this is the fabric. I cut this off, I'll be joining this to this. Okay, you see, it's just exact, right? So I'm going to be joining them back. This is the yoke for this fabric. Then you get to take off the pattern papers. Just keep peeling them off, and remember, you don't even need to stress yourself so much. Once the ones that don't the ones that you can't pull off, you could just leave them. Remember, these are paper, so that once you wash this fabric, this paper is gonna go or melt away or tear out, so you don't need to stress so much with regards to that. So but I kept peeling them off as much as I could. Yeah, it took a little time. Of course, everything with regards to sewing takes time. So I'm almost done with removing the pattern paper, so we could actually see our basket that we have made or that we have formed. Okay, so after that, run the bias on the neck. It's ready to be attached to the main fabric. This way, then you can go ahead to hold up the shoulder. Yeah, join the shoulders, join the armhole to the fabric and all that. So I kept on trying to make sure I took off all this pattern, all those pattern papers that we'll have here. All right, so pretty much almost done with that. So when I finally got to take off all this pattern paper, what I did next was I took this to my sewing machine and I tried to attach this, the main dress, to it. Okay, so I did exactly just that. So I'm gonna show you what I came up with. All right, yeah, so you see, this is now our yoke. The pattern paper are almost gone. Okay, so now we have just the exact the same size, like the same length. So I took it to my sewing machine and I joined them together. So after doing this, I'm going to give it a good press so that everything comes out beautifully well. So this is exactly how I got this puffy sleeve with this organza laying over it. So I started with my pattern paper. I drew the line, the starting line. Then the caps, my cap height for this sleeve is 4.16 inches. So I took down measurements on both sides so that I could just draw the straight line. So in case you want to know how you can calculate your exact cap height, I'll be attaching a link to this video where you can, I've already done a video on that. You just calculate your own cap height for getting your standard sleeve pattern. So I took the measurements on both sides and connected it together. Then the next thing, okay, I inserted the half of my armhole measurement on that cap side line, and half of my armhole measurement for this sleeve was 8 inches. Then added the ease, for whatever ease you put on the dress, you put it back here. Okay, so using a ruler I connected that point to the starting line like so. Then I also took my tape and found the middle point of that diagonal line I just drew. Okay, when I found the midpoint of it, I had to take my tape off to measure half an inch. Okay, so that half an inch I connected the line back, then also connected it back to the armhole line like so. Let's see that. So connecting it back to the armhole line with a straight line. Okay, afterwards I took my armhole curve and tried to draw a curvy line connecting this line back to the starting point. All right, so after doing that, that becomes the back of the sleeve, like the armhole sleeve. That is the back. So we need to get the front. Remember when we were making our bodies, the front armhole and the back armhole are not usually equal. The front always is usually a bit deeper. So you take your curve, armhole curve, and just make a very nice curve like so, and also connect it back to the armhole line, okay, with a nice curve. So after that, remember you need to add an allowance to this sleeve. So once you're done with that, you take your measuring tape. I added 1 inch allowance, sewing allowance to the sleeve. So I use my straight ruler to just draw another straight line so I don't cut directly on the sleeve, armhole sleeve line. So you're actually done with this. I'm just gonna use my scissors and go ahead and trim off this from the pattern paper. Then I'll just put it on my fabric and cut the sleeve. Okay, back to my fabric. I'm just going to pick the fabric, fold it into two, then I'm going to fold it diagonal like so, because I want to, the sleeve is going to be sort of like a flared. So after folding it this way, I just place my pattern paper on top. The length of the sleeve is actually going to be 24 inches. First of all, you fold it at some point. Make sure you push it towards the down part of the fabric so you can get that flat part. So I tried to measure it at that point and I didn't get the exact length I wanted, which was 24 inches. So I had to adjust the paper. I took it upwards, and here at this point I could see, okay, I have my 24 inches. So I will take my tape and continue measuring round. You just shift it a bit inwards, continue measuring round until I got to the edge, and I have my sleeve length of 24 inches exactly. So this is what you just take your time. Yeah, keep measuring it like so, gradually till you get to the end of your fabric. So it's that simple. So once you're done with that, all you need to do is get your ruler. Yes, your straight ruler. You want to use freehand, just make sure it's as straight as it could be. So we're gonna connect it, just it's gonna be a straight line to the edge of this fabric. So after you've done that, you just take your scissors and you cut out your sleeve like so, exactly the way I'm doing that. So after you've cut out your sleeve, this is what we have. But you guys remember, we need to trim off the front armhole. What I did, I made a notch at the center, okay, of the fabric, so that when I open it up, I won't be looking for the midpoint. Okay, so after that, I split it open. I try to trim off the front armhole, so it's a little bit deeper than the back armhole. So once you do that, this sleeve pattern is almost ready. Then remember, we'll be laying organza on top of the sleeve. So what I actually did was just to bring the organza. I used like 1 yard of it. I placed the sleeve pattern on top like so, but I needed to add like extra 1 inch around it, so that the organza doesn't just lay with the fabric. I want it to be a little bit puffy around it. So that was what I did, adding an extra inch around the organza fabric that I used. So after I did that, I just took my scissors and I tried to just trim it all. Okay, while doing that, you could just, I had to place these things in the midpoint of the fabric, the sleeve fabric, so that, while I'm cutting it, it doesn't just, move around. So you just take your time, do your cutting as much as you want. Then after that, what I did next, I'm just going to show you how you're going to sew this in your sewing machine. Remember, we don't have the exact the sleeve, the fabric sleeve and the organza sleeve are not equal, right? So what you're going to do is get to your sewing machine. You're going to pick the edge of the fabric and the edge of the organza, just sew it edge to edge. All right, by the time you sew it like so, around with, merging the two edges together, then in the center of the fabric for the organza, you're going to have like that puffy um puffiness we wanted to get for the sleeve. So that's how you're going to do it all round. Just make sure you continue sewing it edge to edge throughout the sleeve. You're going to get that very puffiness. And also, to enhance that, I also put an elastic, okay, at the sleeve hole. Okay, I put elastic so that I can actually get the dress. See that? So thank you guys for watching this video. Please, if it's your first time of coming across my channel, please don't forget to give hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, so that other people can also find this video. Thank you so much. See you in my next one. Do have a nice day. Bye.